People often ask me, why Eleanor Roosevelt? And I suppose I should answer, well, why not? I wanted to do a play about somebody real and famous, but someone I could admire. And the more I read and researched about her, the more I fell in love. She was totally ahead of her time. Passionate anti-racist, feminist, pacifist, Democrat and internationalist. It was she who got the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted at the UN after the war. Well, President Truman called her the First Lady of the World, and for FDR, for Franklin Roosevelt, and the New Deal, she was his eyes and ears, travelling around the country, finding out what people wanted in ways that he could not. Their troubled marriage became a unique partnership. And once America was in the war, she persuaded him to let her fly to London to see how the women were coping and to give heart to the American troops. I discovered there was a diary of her 3-week trip. So I flew to New York and got permission to use that and other writings, and it became the spine of my play. Eleanor was a celebrity in her own time. She was everywhere. Cartoons imagined her popping up unexpectedly down coal mines or on polar expeditions. But I was fascinated too by the private person. She'd had a terrible childhood. She was plain and remained so, toothy, chinless, too tall, and was made to feel it. And despite a life surrounded by people, entertaining thousands at the White House, travelling, campaigning, broadcasting, there remained an insecurity and loneliness inside. In my show, which is about 80 minutes, I tell the story of her life and loves in flashback, because we bookend the show in 1962 with Eleanor dying and the Cuban Missile Crisis threatening to blow everyone to smithereens. There's no costume change. I play everyone from FDR to Churchill, with whom she had a difficult relationship, the royal family, and a vast supporting cast of wartime Americans and Brits. For me, live theatre is all about telling stories in the now and as simply as possible, so the audience is a crucial part of it. Eleanor believed in the power of people coming together in groups, large or small, and for her and FDR, it all began with talking and listening to people. I think we could do with her now, nearly 70 years after the end of the war and the founding of the UN. She believed in all nations together. She believed in the power of democracy and the right and duty to vote, and the duty of all governments to take care of their citizens, because she believed that all people were capable of great things. Above all, she wanted to be useful, to serve, and she was tireless. I know, and I only play her. On her trip, she said no rest days, and she wore out shoe leather, reporters, and secretaries. No letter went unanswered, but she didn't spare herself. And, God bless her, she wore the dottiest of hats. So here she is, Mrs. Roosevelt, ready to fly to London.
Paddington Station. Suddenly, the person inside me is consumed with nerves. Just as I was on my wedding tour nearly 40 years ago, Franklin returns from an official trip to Europe, desperately ill with pneumonia, and I find Lucy's love letters. The bottom drops out of my world. I am on the Queen Mary, our flag broken on the masthead, sailing down the River Clyde. All along the river, the men working on the ships are gathered to cheer, and I must look like the Statue of Liberty, only moving.